Thank you for joining us for the webinar on content marketing, creating the right content for each season. We're going to give everyone a chance to get here and log in. So before we start, you can grab your water or coffee and we'll begin in just a minute. During the webinar today, we'll be conducting a poll to get an idea about our attendees' current digital marketing efforts. So please take part in the poll so that our speaker, Bob Rogers, can see how best to help you and we can learn a bit about each other. So if everyone's logged in and comfortable, we shall begin. Welcome to our session on content marketing, creating the right content for each season at the Small Business Development Center at CBP, a sponsored program of the Mason Enterprise Center at George Mason University. My name is MJ and I'm here to get the webinar started. In this webinar format, we will not be able to hear you. However, if you have a question at any point during the meeting, you can type your question into the Q&A box and we will periodically present your question to Bob when there's a pause in the presentation. If you'd like to speak using your microphone, you can raise your hand and we can let you speak your question to Bob. We will stop throughout the presentation to answer questions, but it may not be right away. So please type your questions with enough context so that the instructor can follow up afterward as needed if we don't get them addressed during class. Also, if you are seeking $100,000 or more in funding, you can reach directly to our director, Vijay Vaswani, at vj@cbponline.org, and I'll put his email in the chat. So now we wanted to learn more about our audience today, and to do so, we were going to take a quick poll. Please select your response from the options provided on your screen and then submit your responses. I'll launch the poll. The first question is, how long have you been in business? 6 months or less, a year or less, 2 years or less, or 2 or more years? How many employees do you have, including part-time? Third question is, when was the last time you updated your website? Maybe less than 2 years ago, less than 5 years ago, or maybe you haven't updated your website. And then the fourth question, do you use social media to communicate with your target audience? Yes or no? And lastly, do you have a content marketing calendar? Yes or no? As people are still coming in, I'm going to leave this poll open for a couple minutes so everybody can take part. Okay, just one more minute on the poll. Just remember to submit your responses. If you're just joining us today, we're taking a quick poll. Please select your responses from the options provided on the screen. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll in about 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. I'll share the results. Looks like 23% have been in business 6 months or less, 8% for a year or less, 12% for 2 years or less, and 58% for 2 or more years. 69% have 1 to 2 employees, 8% have 2 to 5, 12% have 5 to 10, and 12% have 10 or more. Like the majority of people have updated their website less than 2 years ago. 31% said they have not updated their website. And 77% do use social media to communicate with their target audience. 23% do not. And 81% do not have a content marketing calendar, and 19% do. Okay. Well, thank you for taking part in the poll. And lastly, at the very end of our session today, when you sign off on your browser, there'll be a special drawing to receive free group counseling on what we reviewed today. A handful of clients will be selected, and so if you're interested, simply fill out the group counseling evaluation form and you'll automatically enter your name. And now I'm going to introduce our speaker, Bob Rogers. Bob started and ran a government contracting business for 30 years, which he sold in 2015. He was number 250 of Inc. magazine's top 500 rankings of the fastest growing privately held companies in the United States. He's won over $100 million in government contracts, and WSI Digital Solutions is his 5th business. He has a BS in engineering from United States Air Force Academy, an MBA from Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, and is an OPM graduate of Harvard Business School. Bob is also HubSpot certified in email marketing and SEO. And you can get more advice on tips in social selling and digital marketing by following Bob's company page on LinkedIn. And I will share those links and contact information in the chat. Bob will be speaking today until 2 p.m., and I'll turn it over to him now.
Great. Thanks for that introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you, MJ, for that wonderful introduction. Hopefully everyone can hear me and see me. If you can't, please put something in the chat or let me know. It's hard for me to figure out whether I am being seen or heard unless someone tells me. So welcome to Mr. Rogers' Digital Neighborhood. I'm Bob Rogers, and I'm going to speak to you today about how to use content marketing to create the right content for each season. First, thanks for attending this training session. There are more events than there's time to participate before the pandemic and all these Zoom events. But after the pandemic, there's just a deluge of webinars, and you could have chosen to be anywhere, and you've chosen to be with us today. And for that, on behalf of this SBDC, Small Business Development Center, we thank you. And then lastly, I'd like to express my appreciation to Vijay Vaswani, the director of the Virginia Small Business Development Center, for the opportunity to speak to you today. And as MJ said, please put your questions in the Q&A box, and I will answer them throughout the course of the presentation. Next slide, please. So we should be looking at an agenda, and it shows that we're going to first of all discuss inbound and outbound marketing before we start discussing content. You need to understand the internet, that the internet has really changed the rules of marketing. Sellers no longer control the narrative about their products and services. The power shifted from the buyer, the power has shifted to the buyer, who can research you anytime they want on the internet before they even agree to see you. So after this, we're going to dive into the definitions and the benefits of content marketing. Then we're going to talk about the seasonal marketing basics. And then I'm going to give you 5 steps for creating content for every season. And you can see them written down there. We'll cover each and every one of these. So on the next slide, we should be talking, we're going to talk about inbound versus outbound marketing. So outbound traffic has been the norm for most of my business career, and probably not so much yours. I've been around a little bit longer than you have. But it was certainly around before the rise of the internet. Outbound marketing is interruption. They're interrupting their target audience. They do that with radio ads, TV ads, billboards, print media, telemarketing ads. It's become really less and less effective over time for 2 reasons. Number one, the audiences have many more tools to block that out with browser extensions, caller ID, email spam filtering, and more. Second, outbound costs a lot more than inbound marketing, and it has a lower rate of return on investment to boot. So those are 2 big factors. Now, inbound marketing is a strategy for creating content on your channels, like social media, and it educates your target audience. This webinar is all about using content to attract, educate, and engage your target audience so that they'll buy your products and services. The goal is to draw them to your website where they can browse and educate themselves on how your company can solve their problems. So I'm going to put a link, or there should be a link in the chat, of inbound versus outbound marketing. It's a blog written by HubSpot, which I think will go into much more detail about the environment that you find yourself in as an owner of a business trying to reach your market. On the next slide, we'll talk about what is content marketing. So what do we mean when we say content marketing? We're discussing a strategy based on employing information to educate and inform your target audience. Hence, in that way, it's both valuable and it's relevant to your target business in your business development activities. You may have heard of terms like thought leadership marketing or influencer marketing, which they all refer to the same thing, content marketing. The critical point is that you're not explaining or selling your products and services on like a sales pitch. Content marketing is about using content around your expertise to explain to your audience solutions to things that are keeping them up at night. You become visible on the internet when you use this type of marketing. Next slide. So what are the benefits of content marketing? Well, the first one is it demonstrates your expertise in a way that buyers want to be reached. It helps people understand what you do and how you can help them. Sharing your expertise will differentiate yourself from buyers so that you stand out over your competitors. It gives your prospects a feel for what it might be like to work with you. Prospects may choose you over competitors simply because they think you're a better fit for them. Remember, people do business with people who they know and they like. Content marketing helps with both. Content is exactly what search engines want. Therefore, while trying to educate your prospects about who you are, you're also letting the search engines rank you higher in their algorithms. So you please your prospects and you satisfy the search engines at the same time. It's a win-win. And content marketing, as we talked about before, is less expensive than traditional outbound strategies. You can communicate directly with your target audience without having to travel to multiple locations and speak with individuals one at a time. Ultimately, you want to use both inbound and traditional marketing as a sales strategy, but you certainly want to increase the amount of inbound as you go on. However, most of your effort, however, should be driven in the long term by content marketing. Now, related to this is that content marketing works around the clock. Once you post something on the internet, it doesn't have a time limit or a geographic boundary. Because of these two factors, businesses use inbound marketing to get most of their leads. And I'm telling you this because of the research paper that's done every year by Hinge Marketing Research. And this year's 2022 growth study says the same thing that it does every year, that professional services firms, which they track in 6 different segments, used inbound marketing, digital marketing, and get much greater returns on investment than they do traditional marketing. Now, next slide, we're going to talk about seasonal marketing. So how can you improve your seasonal content marketing strategy? Well, there are 2 seasonal content types. The first one are holidays and events, and the other one is seasonal trends. So we're also going to discuss at the end of this slide, you'll see down there, I have something for B2C companies for year to end. For some B2C companies, the holiday season between Halloween and the end of the year may account for as much as 50% or more of their revenue. So that's a special kind of marketing. So first of all, holidays and events are a great way to hijack an event already in the news. In this country, we're famous for our 4th of July celebrations commemorating the signing of the Declaration of Independence. No matter what type of company you have, you can create ads with the July 4th theme to increase your visibility on the internet. We're going to give you an example of what we send to our 2,700 contacts in our database, or what we sent this past July. Also, picking up on seasonal trends is essential to your business. If you're selling many products in the summer, for example, an image of a beach could increase your views. Also, if you're a tax preparation service, content around tips to save money around tax season gets a lot of views. And now for the B2C businesses that have year-end holiday sales, this is your most significant opportunity. Remember to show how your products and services solve problems rather than just emphasizing, hey, I got a sale going on here for Thanksgiving or Christmas. For example, let me give you an example. So let's say you're running a children's clothing store. So you may want to run content that shows grandparents. Oh yeah, grandparents are big time buyers of children's clothing store. I know. I've spent my wife has spent half a fortune on the grandkids, buying them stuff. So if you run ads targeting that audience that says, gee, our outfits would look great on your kids for a Christmas gift, that's the kind of stuff that wins views and gets likes and gets noticed. Okay. Next slide. Now, this is an example of or it's not an example, it is the holiday email that we sent out to all of our customers in our database. Notice that we use a minimum amount of text. You don't want to overwhelm people with a whole bunch of text, but we use an eye-catching image. The purpose is to keep ourselves top of mind throughout the year. So the message that I want to make sure you guys understand on this one is that you don't have to always be selling folks, or you don't have to always tell people, hey, I got this going on, that going on. Just a simple hi, have a happy 4th of July celebration keeps you at top of mind, where your competitors who didn't think to do so are not there. We do this 10 times a year with 10 different holidays, and it's a strategy that works. Next slide shows you a seasonal trends example. So we all have to pay taxes. That's and death or certainties, right? So this slide is an example of a newsletter we published for one of our clients who's a certified public accounting firm. It gives customers and prospects tips on filing their tax returns. It doesn't sell on customer services. It just discusses 3 essential tips that taxpayers should be considering before filing their return. And we do this around January, February, and March, and it gets a lot of high reviews. Why? Because people are really interested during that period of time. And so we aim to target this audience to show that my client can solve their tax problems, which do keep them up at night. This is a classic example. So the question I'm going to ask you, and I want you to think about this: are you publishing content that addresses how you solve issues that keep your clients and prospects up at night? Remember, it's not about what you can do for your clients. It's about what your clients need you to do for them. Let me say this again. It's not about what you can do for your clients. It's about what your clients need you to do for them. Always keep your client's point of view top of mind when you develop content. Next slide. So let's jump into the 5 steps for creating content for every season. 1, focus on one platform first. If you're just starting out, or if you're going to do this and you only have so much time, make sure you do it right on one platform instead of using 3 and doing it poorly. Use a planning tool to help you out. Find your niche, target that niche. Don't try to sell to everyone. Use quality content for the season and engage your audience. So let's go through each one of these on the next slide. Step 1, focus on one platform only. Pick one platform before trying to take them all on, which is what I just said. But I know some people think that social media really doesn't take that much work, but I've done a lot of posts over my years, and I can tell you it requires a lot of work. And some people have entire teams, or smaller businesses have one dedicated individual doing nothing but producing content and sending out information. But if you're just starting, please focus on one before you move on to the others. For example, if you're a photographer, Instagram or TikTok might be the best way for you to get to your target audience because their platforms feature pictures and videos. But if you're an online business teacher of digital marketing skills like yours truly, you might want to use YouTube or Facebook, depending on your target audience. And indeed, I do have a Facebook page, and it's got tons of YouTube videos that I've made over the years. Next slide. So let's give you an example of a social media. Now, this is a government contractor, and this slide shows the social media of the post on LinkedIn of one of our clients. LinkedIn is the leading B2B and B2G, B to government, B to business platform. And these posts target the state and local government IT managers that they serve. They discuss our clients' expertise in solving critical enterprise architecture problems for their clients. Next slide. Now, the next slide is a YouTube example, and this is the first cover slide of the first SBDC webinar we did this year in this series. Unfortunately, today is the last one we'll do this year. Much to my regret, because I've had a lot of fun and had just a tremendous, learned a tremendous amount from you guys in doing these webinars. But this targets small business owners who are interested in growing their businesses. Well, that's pretty much everybody on this webinar. Every small company is interested in growing their business, and we demonstrate how you can use blog as a social media tool. Now, the next slide is step 2 in planning your content. And the best strategy for good content is to plan, plan, plan. Most content experts say that planning on a month in advance works best. Since content marketing is our primary method of reaching our customers, we prepare our topics a year in advance, but we do make allowance for changes in the marketplace, and occasionally we'll use newsjacking. Newsjacking is the practice of taking advantage of current events or news stories in such a way as to promote or advertise your products and services. In addition, every brand should have a planning tool. Whether you use Google Sheets or Outlook Calendar, or a more sophisticated tool like like HubSpot social media content calendar, you should lay out what you're going to post on your platform at least a month out. So MJ is going to put in the chat for you a link to this planning tool. And I'm going to stop right here. I've been talking a little longer than I had planned to, and see if we have any questions before we move to the social media calendar.
I have no questions at this time, Bob.
No questions. Everybody's on board. All right. Let's continue to rock and roll. All right. So our next slide is on the social media calendar. And you're only visible to your network if you're posting regularly. To succeed in social media, you must stay active by planning your posts. I suggest the following 4 steps to develop a successful social media strategy. Step 1, create a monthly template calendar. The days are on the horizontal axis in this example, and the weeks are on the vertical axis. Step 2, determine how often to post. You should plan to post at least once a week. And you can see here that most weeks there is at least 2, and 1 week is 3, and 1 week only has 1. And this is by design. Step 3, remember that you're posting valuable and helpful information to your network. If you choose 2 different platforms, let's say you decide to go ahead and do 2 different platforms, you can still use the same content. You don't have to create different content for different platforms, but it does need to be customized to your audience if your audience platforms are different. And then step 4, use curated content along with original content. Curated content is to repost someone else's content. And curating content is a fantastic way to learn how to post regularly. So when I first started out, I pretty much used nothing but curated content because I already didn't know what I was doing. I was very confident. And then I slowly worked up to where I did about 10% of my own content. And now it's somewhere between 90 to 100% is content that I've generated myself. All right, let's go to next slide. Newsjacking example. I mentioned the term newsjacking earlier, and it refers to the practice of capitalizing on the popularity of a news story to amplify your sales and marketing success. The term was popularized because of David Meerman Scott's new book, Newsjacking: How to Inject Your Ideas into Breaking News Story and Generate Tons of Media Coverage. In this example, Krispy Kreme has used the COVID-19 pandemic to drive traffic to their stores by offering free donuts if you can show a valid vaccination card. Now, this strategy positions the company to look like they're part of the solution to fight the pandemic while deflecting away the persistent perception that donuts are unhealthy. Now, clarification and a confession. I am not saying anything negative about Krispy Kreme or donuts. In fact, my confession is I've eaten my fair share of Krispy Kreme donuts regularly, and back in the day, I used to bring them in every Friday into the office for my employees. So I have nothing against Krispy Kreme whatsoever. I'm just trying to show you how to use newsjacking in an instance that I have personal experience with. Okay, so next slide. Step 3, find your niche and study your competition. So find your niche and studying your competition is really a big part of what you do. You always got to keep your radar up and look around, no matter who you are. I have to do it. Everyone has to do it. In past webinars, I've stressed that small business should find their niches as soon as possible. Usually this takes a combination of research and actual competitive experience to find the right audience. You can't be all things to all people. When it comes to content marketing, you must keep up with the trends in your niche and see what other brands are doing. Pay attention to how they engage with their audiences and what kinds of questions and comments people leave that possibly you could answer in your content. On the other hand, please remember to never steal or copy content unless you give permission or give attribution to the creator of the content. If you find yourself using other people's content, that's fine. To augment your own, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just mention the fact that you got it or where you got it from. I mean, there's nothing really new here about digital marketing these days. There's so much out there. It's hard for one person to say, gee whiz, you plagiarized the whole idea of writing a blog post. Not really going to happen. A good technique for doing research is to look at brands similar to yours and find out what's working and what's not. There's no magic bullet, no pixie dust, no magic potion to creating good content. The best content creators post consistently and always look for new ideas to engage their audience. Now, next slide. We're going to delve into this whole concept of how do you do research. So the first one here is, in fact, both the next two slides are both about Google Trends, which is a free site from Google that tells you how keywords and keyword phrases rank on Google's searches. This slide shows an infographic on how the keywords rank across the country. I have chosen the keywords on the far left, Christmas gifts, and then Valentine's Day gifts, and then Mother's Day gifts. And the slide shows that on this particular day I did the search, the keyword phrase Christmas gifts ranked much higher than any of the other two. And we did the search, I don't know, probably a couple of months ago. Now, the next slide, where it says conduct research number 2, the second part of the keyword search entails figuring out, now that you have this information, how difficult would it be for you to rank your keywords off of these holiday opportunities? Well, depending on how many websites have published content relevant to the keyword phrase, the ranking can be a breeze or it can be a staggering challenge. The best keywords for your website will be relevant to your service, highly searched, and not, I emphasize, not overly competitive. Google Trends can help you uncover phrases frequently searched. So this slide shows over the last 5 years that Christmas gifts has ranked much higher than the others. So it's always, if you're going to advertise during Christmas, you're going to get drowned out. Therefore, you may want to consider going all in on one of the lower ranking holidays, such as Valentine's Day or Mother's Day. These are the kinds of techniques that sophisticated digital marketing people use. Is they go to Google Trends or they go to SEMrush or whatever tool they have. SEMrush is a proprietary paid tool. You don't need to do that. And they get a lot of data, and you can be just as sophisticated with them with this free tool. And Google will help you figure out how to position yourself. All right, let's go to the next slide. Step 4. Now, let me stop here because I'm running along here. Is there anybody have any questions?
Yes, you have a couple questions.
Sure.
Is posting every day or twice a day too much on social media?
If you're posting exactly the same thing twice a day or twice a week, yes. If you're posting different content, meaning a different story, then no. And say, for example, let me give you an example. Let's say you went to a trade show or a conference. So you went to the conference and you took pictures and you discussed in your post some of the relevant material that you think that your target audience would be interested in, that you are there trying to brush up on your skills. So you posted, say, on a Tuesday, say the conference ran from Monday through Wednesday, you posted on a Tuesday, and then you posted again on the same on the same conference, but different sections of the conference on Thursday when you got home. That's good. That's good. However, if you went to the same conference and you just posted the same dadgum thing every day, that's nobody's going to respond to that, especially Google. Google sees all that's on their site and they don't like that. They want fresh content. They value that. Hopefully I
Okay.
was helpful.
Sorry. Second question, how would you recommend that new and existing business owner find their niche without spending so much money?
How do you find your niche without spending so much money? Well, number one, let's talk about budget. And this will partly answer your question. If you are if you're in business, I can tell you for a fact that government contractors, and I would say other professional services firms, probably the same way, spend 8% of their revenue on marketing. That's all marketing. That's travel, that's entertainment that you do, that's ads, everything, proposals, everything you do. And so digital marketing really is a very small component of that and doesn't really, shouldn't really cost that much. But I think the first thing you have to do before you figure out how to do it is set up a budget. And then secondly, how do you target, how do you figure out what your niche is? I think you have to take what your product or service is and see what industry or what segment of an industry you're the best fit for. You follow? Let me give you an example. If you're a photographer, there's all kinds of photographers. I talked to a photographer the other day. He was one of my clients, and I was talking to him about what to do, and he was trying to find out how to go about this. And I said, well, what kind of photography do you do? And he said, well, for a hobby, I do landscapes. And he had on his website nothing but landscapes. And I said, well, do you sell many? He says, I don't sell any. I said, well, what are you planning on doing? He said, well, I plan on selling portraits. I'm going to do pictures of people. I said, well, first thing you need to do is take down all those landscapes and put up portraits. And then the second thing you need to do is figure out where in your geographic location or online there are people who want to buy portraits. And that's going to take probably some internet research. There's two types of research. There's the internet, what they call secondary research, and then there's primary. And primary is where you actually go out, do surveys, talk to people, get involved, join trade associations. That's how you do it.
Okay, that was the last question.
All right, excuse me, I'm gonna take a sip of juice here, forgive me. Okay, so we're on step 4, right? Building quality content for the season.
Yes.
All right, so search engines will index a particular keyword phrase based on its relevance once you publish it. Your placement will depend on how competitive the keyword phrase is. You may not find a page ranking on the first page right away. You'll be likely stuck really deep down, fourth, fifth, maybe even 10th page. Not unusual. It happens all the time, even to our clients. Okay, that's just the way the system works. So now it's your job to boost the rank and to outrank your competitive web pages to get a good spot on Google. You have to improve the relevance of the keywords on your web page. Search engines use complex proprietary algorithms to determine how authoritative a website is, which dictates how well a page will rank. In other words, Google relies on credible websites with better rankings. You can accomplish this task by learning how to write and promote quality content in the next slide. So, next slide is writing, promoting quality content. Search engines have evolved to favor websites with robust libraries of educational content. Having and maintaining this type of content is very important. Think about it. If someone asks you to visit their website, would you be more likely to connect on their business homepage just to see a picture of their face or whatever? Or would you want to go on and read an article that would help you with your target market? So more blog posts, videos, webinars, and other pieces of valuable content you have on your website, the more visitors you're likely to attract. As you publish content, remember to promote it. Share it through social media, email, in your list. Feature it on your homepage. The more people see your content, the more likely it'll be that they'll want to link with it. For more content creation and marketing information, check out our previous webinars. We've done webinars, these 4 webinars, blogs, how to reach your target audience. We've done newsletter and emails, building long-term clients. We've done a video, creating video script. And then we did one on websites, 5 steps to creating a high-performance website. All these webinars are part of the Virginia SBDC's Digital Marketing Webinar Series for 2022. Don't hesitate to contact the Virginia SBDC if you want a copy. I'll have the contact information on the last slide. Next slide. Step 5, engaging with your audience. So, engaging with your audience is the most crucial step of all. Once you've built a following, ensure you engage with them if you want to keep them. Think of your audience as a community, not as an audience. They're following you because you have something of value to offer them. Make sure you acknowledge likes and shares and comments. I can't tell you the number of times that I've seen people post something and someone will like it, or someone will comment on it, and the author, the one who put, won't even like the comment. It'll just go unresponded to. This is the digital version of a human conversation. I say something to you, you look back at me and don't say anything, or you just ignore me. And so I say to myself, well, what the heck? I'm not going to waste my time talking to you if you're not even going to bother to answer my question or just acknowledge my presence. That's what's happening here when you don't acknowledge a comment, a like, a share on your content. Make sure you do them all. I know people are always surprised that every like on my content, every post, every share and every comment always is responded to by me. You never know. You just absolutely never know who's looking. And in a lot of instances, the people who are looking are not even the ones who responded. There are other people that are looking at you and they're watching how you conduct yourself. It's really important. So These engagements are, like I said, like having a conversation. Someone has taken time to engage with your content. Least you can do is engage back with them. Moreover, someone shares your content, please thank them. Please thank them. Okay. All right, next slide. Engagements, likes and shares. So this slide gives an example of a LinkedIn post that I liked. It had 185 engagements, including 126 likes, 44 applauses, 14 loves, and 1 support. The post was highly successful. And if you clicked on one of these icons, it would show you the contact details. Next slide. This one's the engagements about comments. Comments are the holy grail of social media. Note that not only do they increase your visibility on LinkedIn, they boost your rating on Google. Yeah, Google knows what goes on social media. They take this into consideration when they start ranking your content. So in this slide, the NFL is accepting applications for their rotational program on a recent college graduate intern. So you have to graduate college and then you can work for the NFL as an intern. Notice that one person at the top not only commented on the post, touting his desire to become an intern since he was a baby almost, but he took the time to create a YouTube video and post the link, which I assume is largely the pitch he's going to get once if he gets a chance to send in his comments. Someone else viewed the video and commented on his comment. So at this point, everyone is commenting on the string, and it's increasing the visibility on LinkedIn. This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. And you don't think the NFL takes note of somebody with that kind of initiative? You better believe they do. You better believe they do. Okay, so next slide will show you that we have come to the formal stop of this webinar. And I'm going to summarize for you the items that we talked about. While I'm doing this, I would hope that we still have a lot of time left. I hope that you have questions that you'd like to discuss with me, because I'll be here for a little bit and would love to hear what you have to say. Let me say this too, and I should have said it earlier. If you're concerned that you're going to ask a question that doesn't appear to be very, very bright, or gee whiz, nobody wants to know about my particular question. It's a silly question. There are no silly questions. There are no silly questions. And when I go to conferences for digital marketing, I ask questions all the time. And sometimes the people know them, and sometimes the presenter says, "Oh, that's a good question. I never thought of it that way." That may be your situation. So if you got something that you need to talk about, let me hear it. So we talked about inbound versus outbound marketing. We talked about the definitions and benefits of content marketing. We talked about seasonal marketing basics. And then we went through the 5 steps of creating good content. Focus on one platform. Use your planning tool. Planning tool is key. Find your niche. Write quality content and engage with your audience. Those are the keys. It's not rocket science, guys, but it is work. All right, next slide. So the next slide shows you our workshops. And again, if you've enjoyed what you've learned today and you want personalized help getting started, there'll be an evaluation form and a group counseling form at the end of this webinar. Please fill out the evaluation form. I'd love to get your feedback and know how I'm doing. The only way I know whether or not I'm giving you good quality is if you let me know. And if you're interested in joining one of the 3 workshops, fill out the group counseling form and we'll contact you within today or tomorrow. VJ does this and he does it very quickly. He does mean what he says. You will get a call very quickly. So the three groups, the three workshops we're going to hold is on November 9th. Use the right keywords to find your market niche. November 16th, how to use social media for seasonal and events marketing. And on the 23rd, we're going to create our social media calendar. So when you finish, you'll have your social media calendar done. It'll be our big deliverable. So if you want to sign up, I'd like to just point these things out to you if you do sign up. Be prepared to try to attend every session. If you're not going to be there, let us know in advance. These sessions, by the way, are not recorded. So if you're not there, there's no way I can duplicate the session. Be prepared to contribute to the discussion and share your work product with your colleagues. We use the Zoom platform, and the participants should have their cameras on during the sessions. Because of the work that we do, the workshop experience will be much better for you if you have a tablet, laptop, or desktop computer. If you try to do this on a smartphone, you're not going to have the same kind of experience. So before I close out, let's go to the questions slide, next slide. And I'll pause one last time for last questions before I close out.
Yes, there's two questions. What is a credible website, and how can you make a website credible?
Okay, so what we use the term high performing. Okay, and a high performing website is a website in which it engages the visitor and educates them on the products and services and how those products and services can solve problems for the visitor. Okay, that's what we mean. So credibility would come if the website were high performing. Many websites for early stage entrepreneurs in particular, and quite frankly, a lot of businesses I see have what I call digital brochures. They did this website somewhere over 5 years ago, and they did it themselves, or they had, a summer intern or somebody do this for them, or they tried to do it themselves, trying to save money on the cheap, thinking, okay, now I have a website. Well, congratulations, you now have a brochure that serves the same purpose as putting something in your drawer, because no one who's going to search, unless they know who exactly you are, is going to ever find you on the internet. And what you want is somebody to enter a keyword, like if you're a photographer and they want portrait photography in the Washington, D.C. area, and you want to show up on the first page of Google. The only way you're going to do that is have what's called a high-performing website. That's a website that has lots of content, lots of things we talked about here. It's mostly content-driven, it's educational, and it's something that people want to visit and people learn. It's not salesy, but it is, in fact, educational. So that's how I'm going to answer your question. Hopefully that high performance answers your question.
Okay, the second question, should you focus on email content marketing before picking one social media platform to focus on?
If you don't have anything at all, I'm assuming you don't have anything at all. Whoever's asking the question, better to get started with something than to do nothing. Email wouldn't be my first choice. Email is a little tricky. There are a little bit more bells and whistles. There's spamming issues associated. It takes a lot. You see that MJ and I are both certified email marketing. Again, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying make sure you engage as fast as you can. But email marketing, you need to brush up on. An easier way to get to know your clients faster is social media. Social media tends to be more widely viewed. It tends to be a place where you can put your thought leadership. It tends to be a way in which you can educate your target audience the fastest. If you do use email marketing, I strongly suggest going on YouTube, looking at the various people who do email marketing for a living. HubSpot is a great teacher. They have a certification course, which you don't have to do. You can use one of their lessons. They have what they call courses, lessons, and then they have certifications. And you can take the courses and lessons, and those are much simpler, and they'll get you started.
Okay, and the last question, will the November 16th workshop be different than this webinar?
Well, the November 16th, let me go back. How to use social
Yeah.
media for seasonal market events. How will it be different? What's going to happen? The difference between a webinar and a workshop is a webinar, I'm talking to you, right? And except for you putting stuff in the chat, excuse me, the Q&A, I can't hear your voice, and you're not having a dialogue. The workshops are completely interactive. Everyone has their camera on, everyone has their microphone on, anyone can see everybody else's. We share information through Zoom, and it's an open discussion. So it's a completely different online experience than a webinar. Hopefully that answers your question. If it didn't, let me know.
Okay, no more questions, Bob.
Okay, so let's go to the last slide. Close out. This chart has all the vital contact information about the SBDC and its resources. I always enjoy speaking about digital marketing. However, it's a privilege when I get a chance to speak with businesses and business owners. I want to wish each and every one of you a blessed and prosperous entrepreneurship journey, and hopefully I'll be able to see and engage with you with your content, or you'll be engaging with mine. All right, you all take care. Bye-bye.